Hello, Tom Wiersma here, one of your co-hosts of IPM's Packaging Pundits Podcast. We're bringing to you experts from throughout the industry that will share points of view and insights as to how to improve your packaging system. It could be an aging system, it could be a greenfield system, but we'll bring all those experts in and they'll provide insights as to how to optimize your operation. Looking forward to speaking with you. I want to dive down a little bit more into the whole issue of buffering and accumulation. Is that okay with you?
Yeah. Yep.
I think that a lot of people don't really comprehend how important that is. And I wonder if you can just shed some light on that to get the conversation rolling.
Yeah. I think stepping back into the history of food and beverage packaging, the speeds were significantly slower 10, 20 years ago. And as speeds increase and as technology increases and how all that technology fits together, the importance of having buffering between there to make sure that equipment is set up appropriately to run as fluidly as what it can really drives more of the importance around buffering and accumulation.
So I've always wondered about the issue of where it's best to put a buffering solution or accumulation table. Are there proper places to put it in a packaging system, or just make sure you take up space and time?
Yeah, I think by rule of thumb, it's between main machine centers that makes like where are you going to see some major problems on your line. Now, you're not going to see it on a date coder, so you don't want to put it between a date coder. But if you're going to put it between a cartoner or a sleever that has to modulate and change speeds, or a case packer, or before your palletizer where you have pallet exchange and stoppage of product where it's not just an instantaneous product flow. How do you deal with those stoppages? That's where buffering should be at least entertained as far as an option. That would be in there.
Yeah, okay. Well, now comes the issue of, in some cases, our customers are running rigid plastic bottles. In other cases, they're running pouches of dog food. We don't accumulate the same way in those instances, do we?
No, product type has a big deciding factor on what sort of accumulation type you would want to use, and footprint of what you have. I mean, accumulation is just raw product that's sitting there, so it takes up space. So what do you do with it? If you have plenty of warehouse space and you've got a lot of floor space, you can do it on the ground level, but maybe you don't, and you need to look at a like spiral accumulation, or a topic of what does the product need to be? Does it need to be first in, first out, to where you have the first product that comes in is the first product that goes out and you maintain, that flow? Or does that not matter and the product can sit on the line and you can deal with it in a little bit different timeline to get it out through the rest of the system? So there's different technologies that you would apply there. So from a first in, first out, where if it's a cooled product, a treated product, where there's something that this needs to stay in sequence and keep moving, you're really limited to the technology that's out there around a first in, first out accumulation setup.
Okay. So let's say a product is discharged to an accumulation table. How is it introduced back into the packaging line?
Well, that's all part of the original system design. So how you would integrate that in, where you need to be thinking about that on the front end as you're laying everything out, and how do you need to feed the case packer? Or, we've done systems where you've got one line going into an accumulation system that then goes out to two lines out of the accumulation system because you want some redundancy in the packaging system on the back end, or maybe the technology on the back end doesn't actually meet the rate of what you can feed it on the front end. So you need to divide it between two different lanes on the back end. So all of that goes into how you actually lay out the line and put in your accumulation where you need to.
Can you expand briefly on the kind of control issues that are required to do all that? It seems like a lot of work.
Well, yeah, when you have buffering, you want to make sure you're utilizing that appropriately. So how you go, it really starts with kind of a V-curve design on the engineering side, where you're able to pull away the product that you've had. So when you build up and you've got this amount of product coming in the beginning, and now you're building up more of that product in the middle of the line, your downstream equipment needs to pull that away.
Okay.
So if you don't have the appropriate pull away speed built into your downstream equipment, that just turns into really expensive product conveyor. Then you're not actually using it for accumulation outside of that first time an instance happens, and then it's just sitting there and it's always full. So you have to have it on the back end to be able to pull away. So then that goes into the the control issue you were alluding to of, well, how do I know that I need to tell the equipment downstream that it needs to actually go faster? Well, if you've got a line control system, you then can go and communicate to say, hey, I've got 75% population on my accumulation table. I need to increase my speed by 20% on my case packer to be able to pull that down while my filler's still running. Now you've got that importance of line control built in with your accumulation.
So is line control, I realize how important that is, and we'll talk more about that later, but I just wonder if, do operators control line control? Or is that automated?
It should be automated if you're putting in an accumulation. That should automatically be able to buffer up and down depending on, otherwise you're devaluing your accumulation to where you're not getting the true value out of the accumulation that you could. So it's not something you want to manually go and turn on and turn off and rely on an operator to go do that. That should be all in the system design that you're putting in.
Yeah, so you can see that.